Welcome, UC Bearcats fans, to UC Bearcats on the Prowl, part of the Growing Truth Radio Network. As always, James Ernest and Mark Fightmaster here to entertain you. Mark, what have the Bearcats been up to?
Well, they lost on Saturday to Navy, 42-32, and that's actually a better game than both you and I thought they were going to give them. It's just tough to beat a team when you give up 569 rushing yards, So, I think the Bearcat coaching staff is going to be having nightmares about Navy quarterback Zach Abbey. I mean, I think he was their leading rusher and had basically 130 yards. So, but, 4 games in, we're sitting at 2-2, which is pretty much right where you and I thought they'd be, looking at their schedule. And, head coach Luke Fickell came out this week and said 2-2 is not where they thought they'd be. They wanted to be 4-0, and I like the optimism and the confidence. But realistically, 2-2 after that slate of 4 games is pretty good in my book.
I agree with you 100%. I was going to say there's optimism and believing in yourself and all that other BS, and there's reality. Yeah, if you would have said, we realistically, would like to have been 3-1, maybe surprise one of those 2 teams. Yeah, I could see him saying that legit, but there's no way, and it's hard if he goes, I thought we were going to win those 2. No, you didn't. I mean, it's cool that, you're like, hey, trying to be positive, because I forgot what, the last one, what he said, he said something along the lines of he really didn't expect that season to be good, and, of course, that's part of the reason why he's not here anymore. So, obviously, you have to lie, say some BS, but, the team didn't turn around that damn much that they were going to beat, one, if not both those 2 teams. I mean, like you said, Navy was just running the ball ridiculously. And, of course, Michigan is Michigan.
Right. And after the game, Luke Fickell put some of it on him and his coaching staff. I forget his exact quote, but he said, it's not the kids' fault. We have to put them in a better situation. And that's great. I'm glad he's trying to deflect some of the blame. My thing is, you let that team rush for basically 570 yards against you, and they were missing their top running back, and their second string running back went down in the early second quarter, maybe. It was in the first half with a leg injury. So, this was basically their third string running backs doing this to them. But, of course, most of it was the quarterback.
And just the whole style of offense, it's just so different.
It is, and we talked about that. And I had a quote here dialed up from Ken Neomatalo, the Navy's coach. He said, you can practice against yourselves all summer, but this is what we do for a living. This is what our program has been doing for decades. And basically saying, our offense is our advantage. And it was. It flat out was. I think they threw 6 passes. It is what it is. That's kind of a cop-out, but it is. They were facing one of the top rushing attacks in the country, and part of the reason that they're one of the top rushing attacks is their scheme and the fact that they run the ball so damn much. So, the defense got tired out. It was hot. It's funny, my sons played earlier that day because of how hot it was. And then, we came home, we were watching the UC game, and they flashed over to the sidelines. And I don't know if you had a chance to see it or not, but they were testing some new headband to wear on the sidelines after they came out, take their helmet off, and basically it was an ice pack designed to put on a person's head with a ice pack running down the neck too to keep them cool. So it was close to 100 degrees down there on the turf. The defense was exhausted, and they're facing a relentless running attack. So, Luke Fickell can blame himself all he wants and blame his coaches all he wants, but UC just doesn't have the horses to compete with that kind of football. Now with Navy in the American Athletic Conference, and provided UC doesn't go to a different conference, they're going to have an opportunity to go against them year after year after year and be more familiar. So It'll be interesting to see what happens in the coming years against Navy.
Exactly. So next year when the team's more disciplined and have a couple extra better athletes, it's going to make a world of difference.
Yep.
Yeah. Because, like you said, I mean, with not having the experience level against that type of offense, you're not going to have that discipline that you need to be able to stay in the gaps and be able to read it correctly. It's just one of those things that take time.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. And the thing is, we're still dealing with kids, you know. I mean, we're dealing, they're college football players, but they're still 19, 20, 21 years old. And sometimes, no matter how much you coach them up, they're going to break down. You know, they're going to lose their responsibilities every once in a while. So, like I said, we both expected them to lose. I still come out of the game somewhat encouraged. The offense actually did something. You know, they moved the ball. I mean, they were in scoring position with about 6 minutes left, I think, or maybe even less than that in the fourth quarter, with a chance to cut it to 3 points, and then there was a sack fumble, you know, and that pretty much salted the game away. But I mean, it was with 6 minutes left, not 2. But you know, I mean, they were close. Or no, hold on a second. Let me see. I'm looking at the game recap. No, they pulled within 10 with 6 minutes left. They were down to the 11-yard line with 2 minutes left, and there was a fumble strip sack. You know, so they were there. The offense actually moved the ball. So that's something positive that we can take out of it because, like we had said, against Miami, that offense was dismal. And they were able to find a way to be efficient. So that's a positive we can take from it.
Mm-hmm. Very true. So there's, like you said, there's some good things that came out of it. You know, they're getting better, and that's all we can really ask at this point.
Exactly. You know, you're 100% right. It was, I mean, if you look at the final stats, Hayden Moore was 28 for 46 for almost 400 yards and had 3 touchdowns. You know, in any other game I don't want to say any other game, but in most other games, that's going to be enough to win. You know, that's going to be a solid enough performance to win, and they were actually in the position to make it interesting. Maybe not win, but make it interesting. So, you know, we'll see how it goes in the next game. So,
yeah, exactly. I mean, if Hayden Moore and UC do that this week, say at home versus Marshall, they should win that easily if they're doing that well.
Yeah, I would think so. I agree. I would think, that is a very good chance if they can get that same kind of performance. Now, one thing that this article that I was looking at pointed out, they have got to stiffen up on defense because the division they're in the American Athletic has some pretty high-powered offenses. You're looking at the likes of South Florida, Central Florida, Houston. Actually Houston's not in their division, but you got South Florida, Central Florida, East Carolina. They all can put points up. So the defense is going to have to solidify during the year. But look, Fickle's a defensive coach. So he should be able to get that done.
Very true. But the nice thing is going into this Marshall game, they have not won on the road in the last 2 years.
Oh, that's a good.
That is a crazy stat. Yeah, I was surprised when I read that. I'm like, that can't be right. They're not a bad, and apparently they're a lot worse than I thought. Yeah, I mean it's not as bad as the Austin Peay, where they didn't win last year, and I think they maybe won one game the year before, but. Yeah, Marshall. They've there was the last win was October of 2015.
Wow, that's an outstanding stat. Wait, and something else. Looking ahead to Marshall, they rely on the pass.
Yep. Their
passing offense is rated 52nd. They average about 260 yards a game. Their rushing offense, they only get about 100 yards a game. So it's rated in the lower third of NCAA. which plays into UC's defensive strength. I mean, we're talking about a passing defense that's ranked 13th in the country. So now, of course, last week, facing only 6 passes kind of helped.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, still, we've talked about it. They are a upperclassman heavy defensive backfield. So I think that's going to be the key. You know, that's going to be the big matchup to watch this week is UC's secondary against Marshall's quarterback and receivers.
Very true. Yeah, and then just, you know, seeing if UC can stay healthy and keep get more opportunities out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and, you know, I mean, I think it's great that Hayden Moore had a good game. I'm happy for the kid. He needed it. But looking at, looking at Marshall's defense, they're going to have to be able to throw the ball because their pass defense is worse than their rush defense. But UC's only averaging about 90 rush yards a game. They've got to do something to get that running game established, or Marshall's going to be able to sit back and say, hey, go ahead and beat us, Hayden Moore, you know. And I don't know that he can on his own. So it'll be, you know, it's a couple matchups to watch in the game. So we'll see what happens there.
I'm kind of curious if UC's starting running back still out, because I know Boone was out, let's say, the Miami of Ohio game.
Yeah, you know, I don't know, and I honestly cannot remember if he played in the Navy game. I know that's horrible to say because I was watching it and paying a lot of attention, but I was more, I mean, when they throw the ball 48 times, you don't get a lot of carries. So let's see. Nope, he was still out. He was still out last game with an ankle injury. So let's see if we get him back this week.
It is kind of interesting, like you said, with UC, you know, going to the extreme opposite of their opponents, you know, with passing constantly as opposed to running the ball. You would think they would have tried to, you know, heck, if you're going to do clock management, we want to do clock management, try to keep the ball away from you.
Right. And unfortunately, it just didn't work. You know, I mean, they just could not, you know, they just couldn't run the ball with any success. And unfortunately, then you get down, you got to start passing, and shoot, you know, you go 3 and out after giving up a 10-play, you know, 5-minute touchdown drive. You go 3 and out. Oh, here they come again. You know, so it's it can be a little disheartening, but again, you're playing Navy. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the defense wants to come over and go, hey, come on, man, you gotta give us some time to rest.
Mm-hmm. And you know, they just the times could not do it. So hopefully they will against Marshall. You know, I mean, Marshall does not have the ball control. Well, I mean, anybody can have the ball control capabilities depending on the game plan. But you're not going to see Marshall run the ball that many times, you know, especially when they don't rush the ball that well. So it'll be, I don't want to say a return to normal football, but it does kind of help. So
very true. So what's your thoughts? Who you think scores and all?
Well, you know, UC is a 4-point favorite, I believe.
So what are you thinking, Wise? I'm thinking 33-28.
See, I'm thinking more in the 27-24 range. UC 24-21. I don't think they cover, but I think they win. It's just, again, if they can rein in that passing attack. You know, I mean, they've got 3 receivers to stop, and one of them is a stud. He's got 19 catches for 373 yards. I mean, he's averaging almost 20 yards a catch. So if they can, and his name is Tyre, Tyre, Tyre Brady. If they can control him, keep him from getting the big plays like he obviously gets looking at those stats, I think they can shut them down. I think it'd be, or not shut them down, but hold them down. So I'm thinking 24-21. I think it'll be low scoring.
Exactly. Yeah, him and that Marcel Litton, both those two guys have just been doing great this year for him.
Yeah.
So, I'm thinking, like 33-28, like you said. It's going to be close. But UC should win it, obviously, since they're playing at home, playing at night, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. Let's see here. Yeah, it's on ESPN3, so for the people that aren't going to be at the game, so they'll check that out. Actually, I'm hoping to be able to catch some of it on the radio, because unfortunately this one I won't be able to attend.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and I'll probably be watching on the ESPN app. So we'll be able to give you a recap next week.
Sounds like a plan. Any final thoughts on the game or anything else UC related? No,
I'm just glad that I guess it's too bad that Louisville isn't still in their conference for basketball after all the stuff that happened to Louisville today. But, it couldn't happen to a better program. So.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a couple other ones that just all that craziness. I was going to say the nice thing is I don't think we have to worry about any of that with UC.
Yeah, I honestly don't think we do. Again, this just goes to show you the corruption that can be in place in college basketball. Which is disappointing. But again, it's money driven. Mm-hmm. You get the big recruits, you get the big money. And people are willing to pay big money to keep getting the big money. So
that's the reason why they need to pay them something. I mean, I'm not saying go crazy, but a little bit of something would be nice. And then the other thing that would be nice is just be honest. I was going to say, now, obviously there should be like requirements. If they say you're a 4-star or 5-star recruit, we have a new class that we're going to offer for you. It's called life skills. Or something to that extent, or professional athlete, or, something along those lines, where it's going to be a lot of business classes, it's going to be a lot of speaking classes, that kind of thing, where it's not as much as history about America, but, say, a class about the history of the sport that you're going into.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it only makes sense.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's going to do is just create better athletes professionally and teach them how to, do things that they're going to need to do with their real job as opposed to – now, I mean, you can't make it, where everybody can just decide that's their degree, because, like I can't go, oh, well, shoot, I want to do that too. It's not fair just because they're better at – that's the reason why they have that class. It's for – select elite players, so that kind of thing. Now, I mean, if, there's like somebody who's a 3-star, maybe they could petition or something to try to get in that program or maybe play a season and then, transfer over to that program, stuff like that. But, it's ridiculous, It
is, and fortunately, none of the universities named in the scandal. Well, I mean, we know the ones who were named, but then there's those university 1, 2, 3. Fortunately, I don't think we need to worry about it because I don't think UC matches up with any of them. But it is kind of interesting to see some of the coaches who got caught in it. You got Patino. I guess Arizona's one. I don't know if that's Sean Miller. Or if it was prior to Sean Miller, South Carolina hasn't been named, but I was reading an article that said one of those unnamed universities can pretty much only be South Carolina. That's Frank Martin, with some UC ties, unless it was done before him. So, and Mick came out. I mean, Mick came out and said, he's saddened by it or something along those lines. He feels bad for Patino, but thankfully, I don't think we need to worry. So
it's unfortunate that I was going to say is much as he's pretty honest and straightforward guy, and maybe he was mean there, I'd rather have him come out and go, you know what, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy, and then fuck off you, Patino. That would have been awesome.
Yep.
Something like that. It'd be like, that's our coach. We're so proud of him. But, do the right thing by coming out and saying what he said.
Yeah.
But, yeah, sounds good. So for the UC Bearcats on the Prowl, James Ernest and Mark Fightmaster. And just wanted to remind you folks, of course, check out on iTunes and your iPhone, download the Grueling Truth radio app and check us out. Thank you.